Hey everyone, I wanted to show you how I am editing with Adobe Audition. And I'm working on a piece called Carlos and Robbie. And I wanted to show you how, I'm gonna cut this down to, it's at 28 minutes right now and it needs to be about 20, maybe 15. And I wanted to show you some of the techniques that I'm using cutting things out. So I know it's a little annoying to watch, but I think it'll be helpful and you'll be able to figure out how to use Adobe Audition, which you can download for free right now. All right, so here we go.
Like how that would happen.
So you can cut out about 90% of the ums.
Like you say, like you say you want to give back to your community, but how do you do that? Now I understand there's lots of ways to do that. But at that time, I felt like I wanted to be directly involved.
Okay, so then there's a big sniff. Let's get rid of that.
And
he's saying, now look, this hand thing, you can go just pull it back. And I'm using the mouse and the space bar to stop and cut. So I think you can get rid of this and
so.
Oh, and then he loves this lip smacking thing. We're going to take that out. And the roller bar on the mouse, you just use it up, makes it wider or closer up, and then down makes it bigger.
And so at that conference, I went and so.
There's a little stutter there. Get rid of that.
So we went to the panel.
Cut that out. Now he's saying, so we went to the panel, but he also says at that conference. So let's see if there's a way we can just get rid of, so we went to the panel.
I went and.
So what I'm going to do is press M, and I'm making a marker so I don't forget where that I went and.
The panel afterwards.
Okay, wait, let's see. Whoops, too far.
But how do you do that? Now I understand there's lots of ways to do that. But at that time, I felt like I wanted to be directly involved. And so at that conference, I went and.
Let's see if we can get rid of I went and.
So we went to the panel.
Yeah, so at that conference.
So we went to the panel. Afterwards, we were hanging out in the lobby, just like figuring out what we were going to do next. And I saw.
Cut a little space there.
Jean and Teresa and maybe a couple others also like hanging out there. And so my friend Javier, again, he's like, hey, there they are. He's like, why don't you go ask him if you could do an internship? So I'm like, okay. So I went over, I talked to him, I introduced myself, I told him how much I enjoyed it. And, can I do they ever accept interns? They're like, yeah. And
okay, we're going to get rid of the sniff. Now we want to see, what can we get rid of over here? So let's scroll back a little bit.
And, can I do they ever accept?
So maybe like, do they ever accept?
Do they?
Okay, I think we can get rid of all of can I do. Let's see how it sounds. Always go back. You can always undo.
To him, I introduced myself. I told him how much I enjoyed it. Do they ever accept interns? They're like, yeah. And I said, so how could I go about, becoming an intern? And they were like, well,
okay, let's cut that out and see what it sounds like.
Like, well, just come, basically. And
okay, I think he's drinking a drink, a beverage. I'm going to have to make a policy.
Basically, and so.
There's another one. Did you hear that one? Okay, I need the little hand. So we go back. Too far.
Come, basically.
Oh, yeah, right there. You don't have to be this nitpicky, but I can't stand those smacking sounds.
And
All right. So delete.
so they were like,
Okay. Let's see if it's how that sounds to get rid of the end. So
basically,
Don't
they
you
were
pay
like,
for it?
yeah, they were like, but we can't pay you. So I'm like, okay, but if I can figure out the money part, I can come. And they're like, yeah.
Sure, man.
All right, so I go back to school. I go to the financial aid office, and I'm like, there's this place that'll give me a job, but they can't pay me.
that's funny.
And she's like, well,
Nope. We got to get rid of that.
the financial aid counselor says, you have work study. So maybe you can tell them that they only have to pay you half. So longer story shorter,
Okay, we can get rid of this. See how it's just its own independent island? Those are easy to get rid of. I bet this is a lip smack. Let's see. No, Yeah, it was. My computer just didn't record it. So you basically get the idea. This is a small thing to go through the whole thing, and I'm probably going to shave off 3 or 4 minutes just by doing that. Cutting out the repeating, cutting out the any kind of excess thing. He repeats himself a few times, so you can cut those things out. So I just wanted to show you how I'm doing that.